going on, Dallas Mavericks fans and MFFLs? The Dallas Mavericks defeated the Philadelphia 76ers 118-102 yesterday. 27-23, the Dallas Mavericks are with their record right now, 8th in the Western Conference. There are teams like the Lakers, there are teams like the Warriors, the Rockets. The Dallas Mavericks are going to have to pick up some steam and some momentum here shortly, because there are some teams now nipping at their heels. Again, sitting in the 8th seed right now. The Mavericks do not want to find themselves in another play-in situation. Of course, lots of conversation since the trade last year, bringing Kyrie Irving to the Dallas Mavericks, which we have seen not many, as I'm getting, obviously we're going to say as simple and plain. We have not seen Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic playing together as much as they should. I believe it's I saw a stat earlier this morning that said about 50 games, I believe, possible games, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic have played together in about 23, 25, something like that. That's obviously not what the Dallas Mavericks were hoping for, bringing in a Kyrie Irving from that trade with the Brooklyn Nets last year. So we're going to have to see Kyrie Irving on the court a little bit more to actually understand what exactly Luka and Kyrie's ceiling is together. Obviously, we do know this team is much deeper than that. It's not just these two players alone, but the Dallas Mavericks are going to have to show that this is something that can work long term, because I'm starting to have a few questions. And it's not necessarily the talent level, obviously, of a Luka Doncic, and obviously I'm going to say of a guy like Kyrie Irving. But at the same time, Kyrie Irving's biggest thing is he's a smaller guard. We do know he's going to be able to find his way to the basket, get his shot whenever he can. But is that going to lead to wins for the Dallas Mavericks? We know both of these guys can score, but is that going to bring wins? To me, what's going to solidify this team is just rounding out the pieces around them. Obviously, we do know the trade deadline is coming up here shortly. I believe the trade deadline is going to be February 8th, 2024, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central Time. So the Dallas Mavericks are going to have to make some moves. But before we get into that, let's talk about what the Dallas Mavericks were able to accomplish last night against the Philadelphia 76ers. When you're looking at the game from last night, once again, Dallas Mavericks 118, the Philadelphia 76ers 102. The Dallas Mavericks now sitting with a 27-23 record. The Philadelphia 76ers sitting here with a 30-19 record. Obviously, the game last night was without Joel Embiid, so the Philadelphia 76ers, of course, now they're having some players that are going to be able to get a little bit more opportunity, a few more shot attempts. They did have Tyrese Maxey in the lineup, so the Dallas Mavericks were still going to have to come out here and handle business, and we do know the Dallas Mavericks at this point have shown nothing of being a complete team so far this season. So this is not a situation where you're looking at the Dallas Mavericks and saying as if we have any free teams that we're going to play and that should be free wins, lead to free wins or easy wins. The Dallas Mavericks have got to come out here and play hard against everyone, because we've seen too many issues with this team overall. Last night was not a great game for a guy like Luka Doncic. You can look at the plus 17 plus minus, but that doesn't tell everything. But I will say this was probably one of the better games for the Dallas Mavericks to play, because what we have been used to seeing is the Dallas Mavericks do not play well when Luka Doncic is not putting up big numbers. Last night, Luka has 19 points, 8 rebounds, only 3 assists. When you're looking at Luka Doncic not leading the team in assists, that is a far stretch, because we do know, I believe he's top 3, top 4 in assists per game this year. This is a player averaging 34 points, about 8-9 assists, 8-9 rebounds. This is a guy we know Luka Doncic is a triple-double waiting to happen any game. But when you are going to see a player that just scored 73 points not too long ago, and it seems like Luka Doncic is on a 40-point tear, predominant, I guess you want to say predominant stretches of this season so far, obviously dealing with some injuries. It's just good to see the Dallas Mavericks be able to take advantage and win some games when you're not getting the best game. And this is a game you're going to say 6 of 15 from the field goal on field goals, 4 of 10 on 3. I felt sometimes this was a game Luka Doncic was not even really engaged defensively. It wasn't a terrible game from him, because again, we did see him have a couple, I believe a steal or two, and one leading to a basket in transition for Luka. But this was a game where, again, it was just good to see the guys around him fit in. Obviously, Kyrie Irving has dealt with some injuries like I spoke about a little bit. Plus, he's plus 15 last night in the plus minus, 23 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Kyrie Irving, I'm going to say this is one of the perfect games for a guy like Kyrie Irving to play 10 of 17 on field goals, 2 of 3 from the three-point line, 1 of 1 on free throws. This is a perfect game from a guy like Kyrie Irving, because what you were able to see is a guy like Josh Green be able to throw in his own 20 points last night. Kyrie Irving throwing in his 23. This was just an overall, I guess you want to say an overall showing of just guys getting themselves involved. Josh Green was just a nice sight to see, because one thing you saw last night was Tim Hardaway Jr. did not have a good game. 0 points in 22 minutes, 0 of 8 on field goals, 0 of 5 from the three-point line, no free throws, no free throw attempts. So you're looking at a player like that who's, I guess you want to say for the most part this season, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and then Tim Hardaway Jr. has seemed to be that more consistent third player for this team so far this season. You're going to need big games from a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. more times than not. We've seen him put up 40-point games this year. But what you're going to do is, when you're not having guys be able to step up, because we do know Tim Hardaway Jr. is not a defensive presence at all, and when he is scoring offensively, that's when he's helping your team. But I'm going to say Tim Hardaway Jr. doesn't really have a versatile offensive game. So if that jumper's not falling, that's when games start to get very scary for him and the rest of this team. Josh Green last night, like I said, 20 points last night, and we saw him hit shot after shot, big shot after shot, when the Philadelphia 76ers would not go away earlier on in the game. You're seeing Josh Green continue to be a part of the, I guess you want to say the mix of players of the rotation that were able to stay engaged and keep the 76ers somewhat at bay, I guess you want to say, I guess you can call it. Josh Green, once again, 20 points on 6 of 9 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3, 4 of 4 on free throws. What I've seen more so out of Josh Green, I guess you want to say lately, is just when you're watching his game, he's not just that boomer bust. One thing I can't stand when I watch players play in the NBA nowadays, just the way that the game has changed a little bit over the years. So many guys are either getting to the basket or they're just shooting threes, and a lot of times settling for threes. What Josh Green is starting to pick up is that mid-range is his best friend, and it can be his best friend if he utilizes it to the best of his ability. And Josh Green, we're not knowing exactly if he's going to be a piece in one of these potential trade packages over the next day or so, but we will see. But if Josh Green is trying to make a name for himself, this is how you start to do it, because we are starting to see a little bit more consistent play, and that's obviously some of the things that we've seen issues when not just Josh Green, but players across the board, is consistency. Now look at Maxi Kleber. Obviously, this is a guy that Dallas Mavericks were hoping was going to be a vital part of this team this season, but obviously dealing with so many injuries once again. Now you're looking at Derek Lively not being in the lineup with that broken nose. I believe his broken nose, and he just has surgery on. I'm not sure what the timetable is for his return, because at this point I don't even try to keep up with the injury reports for the Dallas Mavericks, because we have so many players that are in, out. Obviously, we've seen Dante Exum. He missed some time, then he comes back, and then he's missed more time. So we're just going to have to be able to fit guys in. But Maxi Kleber right now, I guess starting in place for a guy last night in Derek Lively, 14 points, plus 12 in the plus minus. Had a block last night, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 6 of 8 on field goals, 2 of 4 from 3, 28 minutes. There we go. Maxi Kleber, if he can just be a consistent role player off the bench or in spot starting, because we do know it's the NBA at the end of the day. It's a professional league. Guys are going to miss games sometimes. But if Maxi Kleber can just find some consistency, we don't need him to be a special player. We need him to just be a solid player. But that's the issue. Again, talking about consistency, Maxi Kleber has got to be consistent. I'm not jumping back on the Maxi Kleber train, because one thing I have not seen is consistency yet. So I'm going to need a few more games, because I'm sure he's going to be a part of this team going forward. I haven't really heard much about Maxi Kleber being involved in any potential trades or trade packages. So we've obviously heard the names like Jaden Hardy, which I will talk about now, because Jaden Hardy last night, to me, 17 points, 6 of 10 on field goals, 3 of 6 from the 3-point line, and 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Jaden Hardy is a guy I feel can completely fill in nicely for a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. if that's going to be his role going forward. I'm not sure, because I think there's some things have kind of gone around. Teams are kind of reluctant to, I guess, trade anything really for a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. He could potentially be a part of a package if some team just thinks that he can maybe play that J.R. Smith role, a guy that can just come in, and when he's hot, Tim Hardaway Jr. can definitely be the X factor in your games and lead to some big wins. But when he's cold, that's the biggest issue. But if we are able to get off a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr., to a guy like Jaden Hardy, to me, that's going to be our potential sixth man of the future until we figure out what's going on with the rest of this roster going forward. But Jaden Hardy, this is a young guy that just want to continue to see more, get more and more opportunity, because 17 points in 15 minutes is nothing to sneeze at, because this is not something that every player in this league can do, or else everybody would. It was a good sight to be able to see guys like AJ Lawson. You saw Omax Prosper be able to get a little playing time and later on in that game when it was getting out of hand. Rashawn Holmes, 0 points in 5 minutes. This is a guy could potentially also, we've heard of his name being thrown around a little bit. I'm not sure if these are some fake trades going around right now, but we're talking about a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith possibly making a return to the Dallas Mavericks. And if that is going to be the case, you could potentially see a guy like Rashawn Holmes on the outs. But also, this is just a guy that, again, I feel like has not got his fair shake. And I'm speaking about Rashawn Holmes. He has not gotten his fair shake in playing opportunity. And I'm not really sure what the issue is, but at this point, there have got to continue to be questions about Jason Kidd. I don't really think it's going to be the end-all, be-all if there's able to be a trade made or something of that sort, because at the end of the day, I don't trust Jason Kidd as a coach. This is not a guy I feel like is going to be able to lead the Dallas Mavericks to on a long playoff run, because we could talk about a couple years ago with Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, Spencer Dinwiddie, just that whole collection of players, Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, the list can go on. But I feel like that was more like a flash in the pan, lightning in a bottle type season. Guys just got hot, and guys got, I guess, start to mesh together at the perfect time. And come postseason, it all started to just roll, especially against that Phoenix Suns team in the second round. But what you're going to have to be able to continue to ask yourself, if Jason Kidd is not the future, who is at the coaching position? But for now, the best thing the Dallas Mavericks can do is just continue to try to improve this team. Grant Williams last night with 14 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, had a block last night in 28 minutes off the bench, 3 of 5 from field goals, 2 of 3 from the three-point line, and 6 of 7 on free throws. Grant Williams is another guy you could be, I guess you hear it thrown around a little bit. Grant Williams has been a mixed bag of results. Obviously, the rest of the fan base, and I myself included, I'll throw myself in there. We're excited about. I was excited about a guy like Grant Williams just to be able to see if he could unlock some potential that he was not able to completely, fully unlock, I guess you could say, with the Boston Celtics. But that's been a mixed bag of results up and down here and there. So this is going to be very interesting to see what the Dallas Mavericks do going forward, because, again, the trade deadline is right around the corner, but we will see. We're now looking at a situation where the Dallas Mavericks, with the trade deadline right around the corner, again, February 8th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central. We're looking at a situation where now you're starting to hear names like guys like Bobby Portis. It could be somewhat of a player swap, a Grant Williams, and a Bobby Porter to going to from the Milwaukee Bucks to the Dallas Mavericks, Grant Williams to the Dallas Mavericks. I'm sure maybe there'll be some pick swaps or maybe a second round pick or somewhere in there, but we'll see how that goes. But I feel like a Bobby Portis could be a potential player that could help the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, you're hearing Kyle Kuzma, you're hearing Daniel Gafford from the Washington Wizards. There are some players around this league that could help the Dallas Mavericks, but at the same time, do you really want to blow it up completely for guys that are not going to really take you up to that next step? You're also hearing Andrew Wiggins could potentially be on the trade market right now. You're also looking at just some other guys, PJ Washington from the Charlotte Hornets, which I feel is a very possible target for the Dallas Mavericks to go over in this, this next 24 to 42 hours, I wouldn't say 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours, or close around there. But we're going to look at and see if a guy like PJ Washington is going to be a guy that could maybe see suiting up for the Dallas Mavericks. But the biggest thing for this team, if they're going to just, I guess, pick up some momentum the same way I'm talking about heading into the All-Star break, is just getting healthy. Derek Lively, Dante Exum. These are just 2 players alone that I feel have not been able to show everything that they have, because they have just been in and out at certain junctures of the season. And this is very big for a guy like Derek Lively, because although it's his rookie year and we've seen so many flashes of just what his high level potential could be going forward, as just a defensive specialist and an anchor for this team, we're going to actually have to be able to see, because we're wasting opportunity for a guy like Derek Lively in year 1. Obviously, it's a long season. You still have a long way to go, but I don't want to see too many wasted chances on this kid. So if we're going to solidify what this is, I definitely want to see us bring in a bigger bigger front court, I guess you want to say. Front court piece, something like I said, maybe in that ilk of a Daniel Gafford or a Bobby Portis. But the Dallas Mavericks are going to have to lock it in, because again, they are going to be facing off against some tougher challenges going forward. But tonight is going to be a back-to-back. We'll see if Luka Doncic is playing. I believe this game is going to be nationally televised. It's going to be against the Brooklyn Nets on TNT, I believe, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. The Dallas Mavericks are going to have to show this is a team that can actually put something together, because over the next couple games, I believe we have the Nets and then there's the Knicks somewhere in that mix. So the Dallas Mavericks are going to have to pick up some steam because the rest of the Western Conference is not taking it easy. You don't want to see this team continue to fall and find themselves in a play-in type situation, because at this point, the front court, if you're talking about a competent front court, there's no way you're looking and asking yourselves, is Jason Kidd the guy to lead us into the future? Is Jason Kidd the guy to lead this team, led by a Luka Doncic, led by a Kyrie Irving, to a championship level contending team? I don't think so. And to me personally, if you're going to be honest, if you're going to be real, the tough questions have got to start to be asked amongst the front office, but especially the fan base. We already pretty much are there, because we do know this team, we're wasting Luka Doncic's potential, and we're wasting his talent. And last thing I want to see is seeing Luka Doncic going to year 7, 8, 9, 10, and you're still having questions about a front office just being able to build a team. So Nico Harrison, Mark Cuban, all eyes are on you for this next day or so. There are no more excuses. You have got to fix this thing, because Luka Doncic, I'm sure he will start to get very frustrated if he's not already, and we do not want to even see what comes with that. So I appreciate you guys for all the support. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share. Definitely go ahead and get those likes in, because I appreciate you guys' support majorly. We'll tap back in again. We'll see if something happens along the trade market, along with the trade market for the Dallas Mavericks over the next day or so. And if it does, I will be right back here to talk about it with you guys. I appreciate you once again, and enjoy the rest of your day.